Arman Tsarukyan is the most unlikable fighter in the UFC. He went on his YouTube channel just the other day as he has a main event coming up next week against Dan Hooker at UFC Qatar, and basically just complained about fighter pay and the UFC's bias against Russian fighters, which is the first time I've heard this, along with just a whole other slew of inaccurate, entitled, and frankly just out of touch comments. So in this video, we're going to get into exactly why Arman Tsarukyan is the most unlikable fighter in the UFC right now. If this is your first time seeing my channel, my name is Wyatt, and this is Fight Society. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so before we get into it, I just want to say that we are coming up on 10,000 subs. We are on the road to 10,000 YouTube subscribers. So do me a huge, huge favor, like this video and subscribe down below. We are almost there. And Arman Tsarukyan, via his own YouTube channel, and I'm just going to use the graphic right here because the video is in Russian. You can go watch it. It's the most recent video on his channel, but they are speaking Russian in the video, and I don't want him to copyright claim me. I've gotten copyright claimed a couple times recently. So this is him right here saying, "It's only us who have no choice. Fighters from Russia. We do what the UFC tells us. If you dare deny one fight offer, you'll be blacklisted." Now, first off, the guy's not even Russian. He's born in Georgia from Armenian parents, I believe. The dude is literally not even Russian. I know he's been kind of embraced by Russia because he lives in Moscow now, or, you know, he lives all over the place. He has a rich family, which we'll get to in a moment, but he's not even Russian. So him saying us fighters from Russia, and he's not even a fighter from Russia. Let's also keep in mind that the entire Khabib camp and a ton of other Russian fighters turned down any fight that is not an undeserved title shot, an undeserved main event, an undeserved jump up in the rankings. And not only that, they pull out at the first sight of any sort of trouble in their camp, a stubbed toe, a bruised pinky. They burn their tongue sipping coffee. They pull out of a fight, all right? That's the truth about these fighters. So for Arman Tsarukyan to sit here with a straight face, by the way, and say, we have no choice. If we turn down a fight offer, we get blacklisted. And really, I think what it is he's trying to adopt this victim mindset that these fighters and their fans love to adopt, because they all say, oh, we're humble, work hard, we're so much better, we dominate. But as soon as something doesn't go their way, it's an excuse, it's an injury, it's people hating on them, especially their fans are completely insufferable. So for him to say that he can't turn down a fight is just inaccurate, for one. And it's also just not true, because he didn't turn down a fight. He pulled out of UFC 311 the day of weigh-ins because he couldn't make weight. And so here's Dana White after UFC 311 saying that he was not going to be getting a title shot and that he's going to have to work his way back to a title fight.
Drawing board with Arman. Kind of tell us about what that looks like. What are you going to kind of envision?
I don't know. He's not getting a title shot, so that means he's going to have to fight his way back to the title.
And that's what Dana has to say about it. And I agree with Dana. He should have to fight back to a title, because here we are on Arman Tsarukyan's Tapology account, and we have his very last win, split decision over Charles Oliveira at UFC 300. A lot of people said that Arman should have lost because he was fighting that choke until the very end, the guillotine attempt in the first round. But realistically, Arman Tsarukyan did win that fight 29-28 against Charles Oliveira, in my opinion. But then since then, he pulled out of UFC 311 against Islam on a day's notice, forcing Renato Moicano to take the fight on 30 hours notice, literally less than 2 days notice, and he got smoked. But since then, he's been totally inactive as far as MMA goes. He competed in various grappling matches for Karate Combat, ADXC, and ACBJJ against the likes of Patricky Pitbull, Benson Henderson, some other guy I've never heard of. But here he is, April 2024 to November 2025, between fights in the UFC. And the only UFC action that he's had since then was pulling out right here. 19 months between Arman Tsarukyan fights. He has held a top position in the rankings in the UFC lightweight division, and he even lied about the reason for pulling out of UFC 311. He said it was a back injury. Dana White right here says that he didn't make weight, and it had nothing to do with his back.
Dana,
yeah.
With Arman Tsarukyan weighing in as the backup, is he getting back in the good graces with you and the
Well, it's not about getting back in the good graces. It's about, you know, the guy had the opportunity to fight for a title and didn't make weight. It's just, I mean, you couldn't fuck up anything worse than that. But he proved, you know, now that he's not fighting for the title, and he was here as a backup fighter, he made weight. So it's definitely a step in the right direction.
So it was a step in the right direction. And part of me thinks that Dana White was not clued into this whole back injury story, because right after UFC 311, he said Arman's going to have to fight his way back to the title. And here, after he made weight as the backup for 317, he said that proved to us that he can make weight, meaning that Dana White was not going to cover for Arman Tsarukyan in the slightest, that he just missed weight at UFC 311. Quick break. If you're loving this video and you want more from Fight Society, click that join button down below to become a channel member today, where you'll get access to members-only live streams, behind-the-scenes vlogs, and all the unfiltered stuff that we don't post to the main channel. Back to the video. Now, why would a guy who has made weight plenty of times before miss weight for the title shot? And I think it has to do with his discipline, because this is the habits that Arman Tsarukyan has. This is him right here eating a massive, massive croissant, dipping it into a giant cup of coffee. You know, obviously, I mean, it's kind of cringe. I don't even know why he finds this shit funny. Maybe it's maybe it's supposed to be some sort of nod to him missing weight, but it's literally not funny. And then here he is eating fucking $200 worth of In-N-Out burgers in a Rolls Royce, by the way, eating ridiculous amounts of Dave's Hot Chicken. Shout out to Dave's Hot Chicken and In-N-Out, two of my favorite places to eat. But, you know, here he's eating a massive cake. It's just become his thing where he's eating massive amounts of food. And this is the guy that missed weight. I know that some people are going to be like, oh, it's just social media content. It's not funny, dude. You fucked up a UFC pay-per-view. I don't understand how this fucking bitch can sit here and make these videos knowing that he fucked up a pay-per-view, showing actively that he doesn't even care that he did that. Why would he care? Because according to him, he ends up at $0 at the end of a UFC win. This says, and this is from the same YouTube video, you can go watch it on his channel. Arman Tsarukyan reveals he makes about $300K for a win in the UFC, but gets left with almost nothing after expenses. Interviewer, so you get $300K. Arman, no, that's for a win. So if you lose, what do you get? Around 150? Arman, yeah, roughly. And from that, 30% taxes right away. Then from what's left, 50% goes out. 5 to the gym, 5 to the coach, 15 to the manager. You prepare for 2 to 3 months and end up at 0. But if you win, you get a bonus. Arman says, yeah, that's the motivation. But in general, you're kind of fighting at a loss most of the time. Interviewer, so the main income comes from sponsorships, right? Yeah, sponsorships. That's how you actually make money. And let's be real. There are a lot of fighters that are fighting at a loss in the UFC as far as money goes. And that's why people have to work second and third jobs. Like I talked about in a lot of my gambling scandal videos, people have kids, people got rent or a mortgage. That's why these people do things like Isaac Dolgarian allegedly accepting money to throw a fight. Aljamain Sterling even said that he had to work a second and third job. Merab Dvalishvili was working in construction. Demetrius Johnson was working a job outside the UFC while he was a UFC champion. All right. But for Arman Tsarukyan, I hold zero sympathy, because he comes from a rich family. His dad was very, very successful in construction. And that's why he's not a billionaire. He doesn't come from a billionaire family, but allegedly hundreds of millions. And that would explain why somebody who is fighting at a loss is pulling up to go grocery shopping for gold in Beverly Hills in a brand new Ferrari. So he's spending daddy's money at the gold shop, pulling up in dad's Ferrari and on a private jet in New York City, saying the Lamborghini Revelto did it again. No doubt I'm a Lamborghini guy. Oh, really? You're a Lamborghini guy fighting at a loss, driving the new Lamborghini and wearing chrome hearts. Tell me how that makes sense. Talking about fighting at a loss. Shut the fuck up, dude. Your parents pay for everything. And him working out on the hood of a Rolls Royce Phantom, Ghost, whatever it is, using the emblem on the front to attach his bands to. And look, I'm not against your parents helping you out, dude. Not at all. But for him to say, poor me, while his parents are funding him to drive Lamborghinis in Beverly Hills, go gold shopping, ride on private jets, this, that, and the other. Well, he's talking about fighting at a loss, coming away with 0. That doesn't make any sense to me. Does it make any sense to you? The same way that he's saying, oh yeah, we get blackballed if we say no to fights. It's like, no, you missed weight and you fucked up a UFC pay-per-view to start the year in LA in a venue that the UFC's never done. As an Armenian fighter in LA, look, dude, I live in the LA area. All right. It's practically Armenia in some parts. You were a big part of the reason why a lot of people bought tickets to this card at UFC 311, and you pull out with a back injury that turns out to be you missing weight while you're doing shit like this. You're just eating fast food, not making weight. I mean, shows you that he's so entitled. He doesn't even care about the fans that paid money to come to the card in LA strictly to see him fight for a world title. And it just makes me sick to hear somebody like that talk about, I come away at 0, this, that, and the other, making it sound like he's like fake struggling. When someone like Malcolm Wellmaker, who is a up-and-coming star at 135 pounds, who's fighting at Madison Square Garden this weekend against Cody Haddon, had to work in freaking like as a pipe fitter, work in factories as a pro fighter. I mean, this is him right here. He was on the Ariel Helwani show today. This was him talking about the work.
Around with respirators on. Me and my guys, none of that. That's why our face is like covered in black stuff.
Why?
And like 30-40% of our work was at that place. I hope I'm not getting them in trouble.
No.
But yeah, it was dirty work, and that was a shutdown. That was like 16-hour shift, nasty work, rebuilding a chute for that zinc. It was nasty work.
Wow.
Not only is it hard work, he was literally training to be a pro fighter in the process.
I worked construction, and I trained full time until I made it to the UFC. It sounds hard, right?
Yeah.
But if you haven't done that kind of work, if you wasn't on those like shutdowns with me, you don't know what I mean by hard work. It's rough. It's imagining doing that. I look back at that and I don't know how I did it. Like, I don't know how I worked construction for 8 years alongside competing and training and did not like fold. It's crazy.
Like just dive exhaustion, right?
Yeah,
I mean, the job is tiring enough.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people, they'll do their shift and they'll go home, they'll crack open some beer and they'll enjoy their night and before they got to get back on the job the next day. And every day I was going straight to the gym until it was all over with. It was crazy.
Malcolm Wellmaker's still on his first UFC contract. He's only fought in the UFC twice. He's probably making 12-12 for his fight this weekend. 12,000 to show, 12,000 to win. Not the pocket watch, but probably 12,000 to show, 12,000 to win. Not complaining about it, talking about the hard work he did to get to this point. All while Arman Tsarukyan pulls up in a brand new Lamborghini that his dad paid for, complaining about ending up at $0 after his training camp. He's a great fighter. Arman Tsarukyan's an amazing fighter, an amazing athlete, but Jesus Christ, you can just tell this dude was raised by near billionaire parents because he's so out of touch. And for him to pull out and say, oh yeah, we have no choice. We can't say no to fights. They're going to blacklist. It's like, shut the fuck up, bro. You're in a fucking main event against Dan Hooker. And if you win this fight, you're probably fighting for the belt next. So just shut the fuck up, dude. Just shut the fuck up. You know, like that one kid that you grew up with that had, you know, his dad bought him like a Porsche or a Mercedes, brand new Mercedes for his first car. You see, he pulls up, like for me, it was like they pull up to baseball practice, new Audi, some shit like that. And they want to talk about the struggle. It's like, shut the fuck up, bro. I'm not saying that I came from poverty, not even close. But for fuck's sake, man, shut the fuck up, Arman Tsarukyan. He's going to beat Dan Hooker, and he's probably going to fight for the title next unless they do Ilya versus Islam in a super fight. But shut the fuck up, man. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you want more from Fight Society? Like and subscribe below this video and click the join button to become a channel member today to get access to behind the scenes vlogs and members only live streams.